The dollar is collapsing, silently, slowly, and most people have no idea it's happening because nobody told them to look. In the last 30 days alone, $8 billion in US Treasury bonds were tokenized on Ethereum. JP Morgan used a crypto ledger to settle international trades. China and Indonesia launched a payment system that completely bypasses the dollar, and a Swiss bank just integrated Ripple to move money across 170 countries. None of that was in the mainstream news. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what is actually happening, and more importantly, what to do about it before the people sleeping on this catch-up. The world they built versus the world being built. Let me give you a brief history lesson that they definitely skipped in school. After World War II, the world agreed on a system. Every country would peg their currency to the dollar, and the dollar would be backed by gold. It was called Bretton Woods, and for a while it worked. Then in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, completely. The dollar was now backed by trust, by vibes, by the fact that oil was priced in dollars and everyone needed oil. That system has been running on fumes ever since, and right now, in 2026, the fumes are running out. The US dollar's purchasing power has dropped significantly, inflation is sticky, the Fed is losing credibility and facing a leadership overhaul soon, and the countries that have been forced to hold dollars, they are quietly, methodically, building something new. Stablecoins, the permission slip movement. Let's start with stablecoins because this is where the story gets wild. A stablecoin is a digital dollar, one token equals $1. You can send it anywhere in the world in seconds for fractions of a penny. No bank required, no wire transfer fees, no 3 to 5 business days. Instant. Sound familiar? The US government just gave stablecoins their permission slip. The Clarity Act is on its way to passing this summer. Coinbase's top lawyer is out here telling banks, publicly, to just accept the deal. Here's why this is terrifying to banks and exciting to everyone else. Back in January, Bank of America's own CEO warned that $6 trillion in bank deposits could migrate into stablecoins. Bitwise, one of the most respected firms in crypto, sees a $4 trillion stablecoin supply by 2030, and Kraken's parent company just spent $600 million to acquire a stablecoin infrastructure firm, specifically to build cross-border payment rails. They're not buying a product, they're buying the pipes, and whoever owns the pipes in the new financial system wins. Bermuda is literally airdropping USDC to attract crypto companies. Google Cloud and Solana just launched a stablecoin payment service, but not for humans. For AI agents, autonomous software that can now pay other software instantly using digital dollars on a blockchain. That last sentence deserves more attention than it's getting. XRP, the sleeping giant they keep in the background. Okay, I need to talk about XRP and I need to do it without sounding like your uncle in a Facebook group, so stay with me. In the last 30 days, XRP's network just received a regulatory license in Dubai, got exposure through a UBS ETF, was used by JP Morgan and MasterCard in a live pilot program, and a Swiss-regulated bank integrated Ripple payments to move money in 80-plus currencies across 170 countries, directly from crypto to bank accounts. JP Morgan. The bank that called Bitcoin a fraud in 2017 is now using the XRP ledger to cash out tokenized treasury bonds internationally. Read that sentence one more time. Now here's what's interesting. XRP's new wallet addresses are dropping, active supply is plunging, retail is getting out, and market veterans say the bottom is in. That's not bearish, that's a distribution shift. Retail leaves, institutions move in quietly. It's happened with every major asset class in history. Real estate, equities, gold. The pattern is the same. By the time retail figures it out, the institutions have already built their position. The Ripple CEO came out and said, "I'm not an XRP maxi. I want Bitcoin to succeed." He said this while his company was simultaneously getting licensed in Dubai, partnering with UBS, and running a JP Morgan pilot. I'll let you form your own conclusions about that statement. Bitcoin, the corporate treasury arms race. Let's talk about the strangest new trend in corporate finance. Companies racing to put Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, now holds so much Bitcoin that JP Morgan projects they'll buy $30 billion worth this year alone at their current pace. Japan's Metaplanet just raised $137 million, specifically to acquire more Bitcoin, following the exact same playbook. Grant Cardone is adding BTC to his treasury and comparing it to REITs. VanEck just published a report saying Bitcoin hits $1 million in 5 years, and they compared it to the adoption curve of video games. Now, there is nuance here. Strategy may actually have to sell some Bitcoin to fund its dividend obligations. CryptoQuant, one of the most data-driven firms in crypto, is flagging rising profit-taking and calling this a bear market rally. The market dipped below $80,000 before snapping back on ceasefire news from Russia and Ukraine. So is this the start of something massive, or a relief rally inside a broader correction? Honestly, both can be true at the same time. The short term is noisy. The long-term thesis, that corporations are replacing dollar reserves with Bitcoin, that thesis is not noise. That is a structural shift. Berkshire Hathaway is sitting on $400 billion in cash. By the way, Buffett hasn't explained why. But when the man who never holds cash starts holding cash at historic levels, you should probably ask what he sees coming. Ethereum and the real-world asset revolution. Ethereum just crossed $8 billion in tokenized treasury bonds sitting on its blockchain. BlackRock's staked Ether ETF has pulled over 261,000 ETH onto its balance sheet. Tom Lee, the guy who has consistently been right when everyone else was wrong, just set a price target of $22,000 for Ethereum. Here is what tokenization actually means, because the word gets thrown around and nobody explains it. You know how a treasury bond used to require a broker, a custodian, a clearinghouse, and 3 to 5 days to settle? Now you can put that treasury bond on a blockchain, divide it into 1 million pieces, and settle it internationally, instantly, at essentially zero cost. That's tokenization, and it's happening right now, at scale, with real government bonds on public blockchains. Mondo, a real-world asset tokenization protocol, surged 68% in 1 week on the back of US institutional momentum. Hedera is running live RWA deployments. The Stellar network showed institutional-scale execution in Q1. This isn't future tense anymore, this is present tense. Here's the part of this story that should make you uncomfortable, regardless of where you stand politically. China and Indonesia just launched cross-border QR payments that bypass the dollar entirely. Indonesia's rupiah is collapsing, and analysts are saying the old emerging market playbook, borrow in dollars, export your way out, no longer works. The US dollar is losing purchasing power. The Fed's path is described by its own analysts as mixed. A proposal just dropped to raise the federal minimum wage to $25 because people can't afford to live on less. Colombia's president wants to turn the Caribbean into a Bitcoin mining hub. The global south is not asking permission anymore. Meanwhile, gold hit its highest levels in weeks. Silver is rallying. Market analysts say the historic gold-silver run will resume as, quote, the fog of war lifts. This is not a crypto story. This is a reserve currency story. And crypto, stablecoins, Bitcoin, tokenized assets is the infrastructure being built in the gap between the world we had and the world that's coming. So, what do you actually do with this information? I want to give you a framework, not financial advice, a framework for thinking. First, stop watching price and start watching infrastructure. The companies building stablecoin rails, RWA tokenization platforms, and cross-border settlement networks, those are the picks and shovels plays of this era. Kraken spent $600 million on rails. That tells you where the value is. Second, pay attention to institutional deployment, not institutional announcements. JP Morgan isn't announcing they believe in crypto. They're just quietly using the XRP ledger to settle bonds internationally. BlackRock isn't publishing a press release about Ethereum. They're just pulling 261,000 Ethereum onto their balance sheet. Watch what they do, not what they say. Some advice you can use in dating as well. Third, the AI agent plus stablecoin story is the most underpriced narrative in this entire space. When autonomous software can pay other autonomous software using Solana stablecoins, the volume of transactions possible is unlike anything human-initiated commerce has ever produced. If you're not thinking about that intersection, you're 2 years early to a conversation that will seem obvious in hindsight. Fourth, the macro tide is turning. Dollar weakness, gold strength, emerging market currency collapses, corporate treasuries diversifying into Bitcoin. These are not isolated stories. They're the same story told in different languages. Hard assets are being repriced. The question is whether you understand the new price before the crowd does. Nothing in this video is financial advice. Do your own research, and don't be the person who finds out about this 5 years too late. The global financial system isn't being disrupted, it's being replaced, piece by piece, rails by rails, institution by institution. The interesting part, it's happening mostly in plain sight if you know where to look. If this video gave you one thing to think about differently, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach the people who need to hear this. Subscribe if you want the next breakdown. And drop in the comments, what's the one story from today that surprised you most? Also, happy Mother's Day to everyone across the globe. One designated day shouldn't determine your worth for all the great things you do. Peace.